Assalamualaikum, welcome to my channel Code City. In today's video we are going to create a simple game application in Flutter. The name that I am giving to that game is Beat My Score application. So first let me show you the final result of the application. So as you see there, I have two text widgets there. The first text widget is used to show the score of the first player, and the second text widget is used to show the score of the second player. And below that I have a dice, and below dice I have a reset button. So that is the design of our that game application. So what actually I'm gonna do here is, whenever user taps the dice, it will generate a random number. And as you all know that dice have the limit of 6 numbers from 1 to 6, but there I will generate a random number from 1 to 7. Why? Because 1 to 6 is for the dice, and when the random number generates 7, so that means the player is out. So let me show you this. When I tap the dice, it generates a random number 2, and that 2 is also displayed on the first player score widget. So if I tap that dice again, it generates a random number again, this time 4. And now if you see the final score, so it shows me the 6 number. Why? Well, if you see, the first time the random number generates 2, and this time the random number generates 4. So it basically what is going here, it's basically it is the sum of all the random numbers that is generated through that dice. So basically that is the total score of the first player. So if I tap the dice again, now this time 5, and the first player score is now 11. Now again, this time 3, this time again 3, 4, and now okay. So now when I tap the dice, it shows me a dialog box in which the application said to me that you are out. So as I told you before that I will generate random numbers from 1 to 7. 1 to 6 is for the dice, and when the random number generates number 7, so that means the player is out. So now if I tap the OK button, so now it's a second player turn. Now second player needs 22 score to win that game. So for second player, I again just tap the dice, it generate a 1, this time 4, 2, 4 again, 3, 6. Okay, the second player wins. So basically the second player reached that target, he beats the first player, he scored more than the first player, so that's why the second player is win that game. But if the second player is for example out on 10 or 11 score, so that means the first player is win that game. So that is the application that we are going to create today. So let's start this one. So for that, first in the main.dart file we have to import our material class, and after that we have to implement our main method. Run app, and I just call theirs beat my score. So create that class, the beat my score, and I will create that class is as a stateless widget. Sorry, beat my score. Now in the build method, all I have to do is just to return a material app widget, and in material app I have a home, and in home I have a widget scaffold. And as you see that there is no app bar, so we don't need an app bar there, so we just need to call their body. and in body we have to call our home screen. Let's say this widget home screen. So that is our main.dart file. Now create another class, that is the home screen. For that we create a new file in the lib folder. Just click the right click on the lib folder, new, and dart file, and just give the name of your file. I give their home underscore screen, and in that file first we have to import our material package, material.dart class, and after that we have to create that class home screen, and that class will be a stateful widget, home screen. Now in the build method we have to design our application there. So first, as you see there, that our widgets are in the center of the device and all the widgets are vertically aligned. So for a center we use just a center widget, and the child of the center widget will be a column, because all the widgets are vertically aligned to each other. So in column we just to give the children of that column, and in children the first one is the first player score. It's a text widget. So just create that widget, and in there I just give that widget a value of first player score, and just copy that widget and paste below that. And this time the name of that widget is second player score. So that's the widget. Now after that widget you see that we have a dice. So for dice we used a flat button, and in flat button we have a child that is image dot asset. And as I told you before in my previous videos, that how you can use images in your application. So I actually already copied that images in my assets folder. As you see there, that these are the images of my application: dice 1 for the 1, dice 2, dice 3, and so on. And that is the image that I'm going to use for when the player is out. That is the out image. So that is the images that I copy in my assets folder. And after that, in pubspec.yaml, in the assets part, you just have to uncomment that section assets, and you just need to call your folder. Well, if when you try to access all the files in your folder, so you just have to write the name of that folder and that forward slash, and after that you just need to click on that packages get button. So my images are already copied in that assets folder, so we just need to call that image by their name. So first we call the dice 1 image. For that we just give the path of that image assets slash dice 1 dot png. That is our flat button, and we on press function, just for now just make it an empty function. And after that flat button we have another button which is a reset button. So for that we again use a flat, no, this time I think we used a raised button, and the child of that raised button will be a text in which we have a text of reset. So now I just hot restart my application, and let's see what happened to the design. Okay, so it's hot restarting my application. Oh, we have an error, sorry. So there I called my home screen class there, so for that we need to import that package as well. So for that, just press Alt plus Int in Windows and import that class. Now hot restart our application. Okay, so for now our application looks like this. So first, as you see that we can't see our image clearly, so for that what we are going to do there is just call a color property and provide the color of black, and just hot reload this one, and that is our dice, that is our two text widgets, and that is our button. So let's do some styling on these fields. First we have to change the size of that flat button of that image. So for that, in the image.asset we have a property of height and width. So we just give a 200 width and 200 of height, and just hot reload again. Okay, so now it's look good. So now we have to center these widgets. So for that we use a column property main axis dot alignment and main axis alignment dot center. Okay, so that's cool. Now after that we have to increase the size of the text widgets. So for that, just give a style property in text and text style, font size, and let's give the font size of 24, and same goes for this widget. Hot reload. Okay, so now our size are big now. Now we have to give some spacing between these widgets. So for that, what widget we are gonna use there is a sized widget. So first we have to make some spacing between the first player score widget and the second player score widget. For that we use a sized box widget there. Sized box, and give him a height of, let's say, 20, and just hot reload. And now we have to give some spacing between the second player and the dice one. So just copy that sized box and paste it here, and we give the height, let's say, 60. Okay, and now for the raised button we are just, I think, use padding will be enough for that. So for raised button we just use a padding. Okay, so now our design is completed. So this is the design of our application. Now what we are going to do is we are going to implement our logic there. So for that, first we have to define some variables. So for the random number we used a variable of int, let me say the name of that variable is dice number, and initialize that variable to 1. That is for the dice number. And after that we have to make two more variables of int for the totality of these players, for the first player score and for the second player score. So for the first player score we created a variable of total first player and initialize it to 0, and same goes for the second player, total second player is equal to 0. And now what we have to do is we are going to make another variable that is a boolean, and that variable is used to identify that if the first player is out or not. So bool first player out, and let me initialize this first as a false. So that is the variables that we are going to use there. Now for the random number, first we have to create a method for that one. So let us create a method for this. Void random number, and dice number is equal to generates a random number. In Dart we used a random dot. Okay, so for that we have to first import that one, a math class dot next int, and there we have to give him the maximum value. So as I told you before that we are generating a random number from 1 to 7. So the maximum number in there is number 7. And what I'm gonna do here is add a 1 value to it. Why? Because in Dart the random number starts from 0. So basically if I don't use a +1 there, so it will generate a random number between 0 to 6, because random number starts from 0. So that's why I'm gonna use there a +1. So whenever the random number generates 0, it will add a 1 number to it. Okay, and let's call a setState method there, and for dice number just place in the setState method. And after that, now if you see there that the name of my images, of the dice images, is dice 1, dice 2, dice 3 and so on. So basically the dice word is same, but the numbers are changed to their respect to that picture. So what I'm gonna do here is, in there dice 1 we just remove a 1 there, and we just call our dice number variable there. So whatever the number it will generate, let's suppose the number is random number generates a number 4, so that the name of the file will change to dice, and the dice number, that means the random number 4, so dice4.png. so it will show me a dice 4 image in my application. So that's why I use that variable there. Now in the onPress method we just have to call our random number method. Now hot restart this one, and my application, it's hot restart now. Now if I tap that dice, so you see now the random number generates, and also my image is also changed. Now what we are gonna do there is, we have to create a method for the first player score. So for that, let me create another method, first void first player, let me say it betting, first player betting. And in that method what I'm gonna do here is, if I will check first that if the random number, that means the dice number is greater than 6. So if the dice number is greater than 6, so that means the first player is out. So if the dice number is greater than 6, so just print out. Else, now in else case what we are gonna do here is just add that score to the total variable of that first player score. So first player, what we are name here is total first player, sorry, total first player is equal to total first player plus dice number. Okay, and we just the total first player, let me just copy that variable and call it there, total first player. Now the total score of the first player will be displayed on my application. Now hot restart the application, and now if I tap my dice, it generates a random number of 2. Now if I again tap my, okay, why it is not updating my first player score? So let me just see that one. It is because, oh, it is because I did not call that method in my random number, I guess. So just copy that one, okay, and paste it there. Okay, so let me run that application in debug mode so I can show you the values of that print statement in the console. So for that we have to stop this application, and before run in the debug mode, first let's print a dice number also there. Print dice number, and if the dice number is greater than 6, we print the out, and also if the first player is out, so as I told you that we initialize a variable there, first player out, we have to change its value to true. So now run that application in the debug mode. So now as you see there that now our application is running in the debug mode. Now if I tap the dice, it generates a random number 5, and that random number is also displayed in my console. Now if I tap that button again, now the random number is 3, the total score is now 8, now the random number is 6, now 4 again, 3, 4, 2, okay. I don't know when it will generate a number 7. Okay, now as you see, now my application is crashed. Why? First we just run that application. It's because now the random number is 7, and when my random number is 7, now when it goes here in the image.asset, as you see, when it appends a dice number with my image name, it makes that name dice7.png, as you see in there, assets slash dice7.png, and as you see in my assets folder, there is no image of name dice7. So that is why it gives me an error that unable to load asset slash dice7.png, because I have not any image of dice7.png in my assets folder. So we will fix that issue. So that is all for the first player betting. Now if the dice number is greater than 6, that means it's out, and you see that the print statement is print there is out, and the first player out is equal to true. So that means now the first player turn is over. Now it's a second player turn. Now we have to implement the method of our second player. So for that, just create another method, void second player betting, and in that method first we have to check that if the dice number is greater than 6. So if the dice number is greater than 6, so that means the player 2 is also out. Player 2 is also out, and in else case we do the same thing that we are done in the first player betting. So we just have to call the total second player is equal to total second player plus dice number. But in the else case we have to check another condition, that if the total second player score is greater than first total first player score, so that means the first player so that means that second player is win that game. If the total score of the second player is greater than the total number of first player score, so that means the second player is win that game. So in that condition we just print there that second player wins. And in that if condition we have also another condition as well. So we have to check if the total first player is equal to total second player, so that means the match is tight. Else means the first player is win that game. First player wins. So these are the conditions that we are going to use in our application. And after that, okay, so now we have to call this method in our random number method. So in random number, first we have to check if the first player is out or not. So for that, if first player out not, so that means that first player is not out. So if the first player is not out, then it should run this method, else it should run second player betting method. So now if I hot restart my application, and now if I tap, okay, so one thing I missed there is I missed the total second player score to show on the second widget. So for that, just call that variable there. Now just hot reload, and now if I tap the dice 2 3 1 1 4, now it crashes. It doesn't matter, we will fix this issue later. Now the first player score is 17. Now if I tap this, now the second player betting is start, as you see there. Now if I press again 3 1, and it crashes again because the same error. And if I again run the app, so now you see that it shows me that first player wins. Why? Because the second player is out on the score of 8. So that's why it shows me that the first player is win. So this is the application, this is the logic of our application. Now we have to implement the dialog box, that when the first player is out, then it will show me a dialog box with an image, and when the second player betting starts, so whoever is win, the first player or second win, it will show me the result that the first player win or the second player win. So for the dialog box, first we have to create another method for the first player out dialog box. So for that, in there, create another method, void show first player out dialog, and this should be an async. and there return, and Flutter provide us a method to show the dialog box, and the method is show dialog. And in the context we just have to pass the context of our application, and after context we have to use a builder, and in builder we have to pass a method parameter of build context, and in that we have to return our alert dialog. And in alert dialog, first we have to give our dialog box a title. So for title, just use the title property and it will require a widget. So just give a text widget, and in text widget we are something like you are out, and after title we have a content that is shown in the body of the dialog box, and in content we used our out image. So for that, image dot asset, and just give the path of that out image, asset slash out dot png. And after that we have the alert dialog also provide another property of actions. In actions we have implement, if we want to implement some buttons at the bottom of our dialog, so we can implement these things in our actions. So in actions we have to just use a flat button, and that flat button child is text okay. And what this flat button is do is, whenever user taps that OK button, so it is just remove that alert dialog to that screen, to the main screen. So for that, in the onPressed method we just have to call navigator dot off context dot pop. So with the help of this line, our alert dialog box will be removed from our screen. So that is the dialog box that we are going to use for when the first player is out. So just copy that method name and call this method there. So remove that print statement and just paste this method name there. So when the first player is out, it will show me a dialog box in which he said that the first player, that you are out. Now just hot restart our application to see that if it is working or not. Now if I tap, now it crashes. Just run that one again, and now you see the dialog box is show me that you are out, and also the images also display there. So just press OK button and it will pop out from the screen. So that is for the first player dialog box. Now we have to create another dialog box in which we have to show the user the result of the game, that who wins, the first player wins or the second player wins. So for that, what we just have to create another method, void show result dialog, and this should be an async. And what we are going to do here is just copy this return statement and paste it there. And we also required a player, that who's the player who win that game. So for that, just give a parameter of player name, and in that remove that content. We don't need, sorry, remove that image, and in content what we are going to pass there is the player name, and in there in title we just show win. So I think that's it for our result dialog, and just copy that function method name and paste it to the second player betting method, and we have to just remove that print statement there and paste it there, and in the parameter we have to pass a string, and when the scores are level, so that means the match is tied, and if the scores are not level, so that means the first player win that game. First player wins, and remove also that statement as well, and if the total second player score is greater than first player score, so that means the second player is win. Second player is win. And now what we are going to do there, that if the dice number is greater than 6, so what we are gonna do there is just reset the value of the dice number to 1, so it will show me the image of 1, except of this error it will show me the dice number 1, and same goes for there. Now if I hot restart my application, so after hot restart, now we have to tap the dice, and it's a first player betting right now, and I think he betted really well and now it's out, so I just press OK. So the first player score is 21 right now, and now the second player needs 22 score to win that game. Now if I tap this, and now the second player is out, so that means the first player win that game. Now if I press OK, so that is the score. Now what I'm gonna do there is, in the reset button I want to do that when I tap the reset button, then these all values should be reset. So for that, simple on the pressed function of that raised button, we have to call our set state method, and in set state all we need to do is we have to reset all the values of these variables. So for the first player, total first player is equal to 0, and same goes for total second player is equal to 0, and the first player out we have to do is equal to false, and I think that's it. Yes. Now if I hot restart my application, and now if I play my game again, so that's out. Now it's a second player turn, and now second player wins that game, and if I press OK, now if I press the reset button, it resets the score but not the dice, so just also reset the dice as well is equal to 1. Now it should work properly. So after hot restart, just play again. Okay, so that's the first player is out. Now the second player, and second player also out, so the first player is win that game, and okay, and when I press the reset button, it resets my value. So that is all for today's video. I hope you are like my video. If you like my video, then please share to others as well. And if you have any query, you can ask me on the comment section of the video, and you can also directly contact me on through my Twitter account. You can find my Twitter link in the video description as well, and also you can find my Facebook page and Facebook group URL in the video description as well. So please subscribe my channel as well, and I see you on the next video. Allah Hafiz.